Hello, my name is Muhammad Abubakar, and today we will talk about the employment income section of our syllabus. Before we talk about the employment income, let me just tell you that it is very important that the student should know the difference between self-employment and employment, because there are different set of tax rules for both of these subjects, or both of these points, or both of these areas, and it will be tested also separately. So to give the right answer, you should know both of the rules and you should know how to identify both of these things. So let's talk about the employment. Employment is a contract of services. Again, I would say it's a contract of services. It means you have a contract with some company that you will be working for them. You will be providing services to that company against a remuneration package. But on the other hand, self-employment is a contract for services. Again, I would say it's a contract for services. So here is, even it's written here, employment is a contract of services and self-employment is a contract for services. Now, what is the difference between these two types of contracts? As I said, employment contract is a contract of services when you have an employment with XYZ company that you will be working for them, whatever job they will provide you as an XX designation or an XSX professional. But when you are in a self-employment, you are actually having your own venture. You are a professional of some specific area, like you are a dentist or you're an IT professional, and you are providing services to your individual clients, whatever they're asking. Before we go further, let me just tell you what are the factors which will help us to identify whether the individual for whom we are going to calculate the tax is actually employed or he is a self-employed person. There are some factors, and some 7 to 8 factors, but not necessarily that all of them will be given in the exam. Maybe 3 or 4 of these factors will be available in the question part, in the couple of paragraphs that you will be reading. So you should be looking for all these factors. The first factor is control. Now, what is control? Control means that who exactly is the party who is controlling that person's work. So imagine if you are employed, your company must be the one who is giving you the jobs. When you are an employee, you cannot just say no to any specific job, that you cannot do this job because you are traveling. Let's just say you are traveling with your family, you cannot do this job, or you have some other personal issues and you cannot do that job. No, you are actually bound to fulfill your end of the contract, your end of the agreement with your employer, and you are going to do that part. They will be requiring you as an IT professional. Let's just say, take an example of Mr. X, who is an IT professional, and he developed websites. So if a company is going to ask Mr. X to develop a website of their client A, he will be developing the website, and tomorrow they can ask him to work also on client B's website also. But on the other hand, when you are self-employed, it means you have the control over your profession. What exactly you are doing, you are the one who is controlling or who is pulling the strings, I would say. So let's just say if Mr. X is a self-employed IT professional, he can say no to any proposal or any offer he'll receive. A client, a potential client will reach Mr. X and he will say, would you like to develop this website of our retail business? And because Mr. X is busy or he has some personal issues or anything else, he can say no because he has the full control over his work. One more example I can tell you, that when you are working, you have specific hours. So you do not have control because that control is in the hand of your employer. They have given you the task plus the working hours, and you are supposed to work during those hours. But when you are self-employed, nobody is going to control those hours for you. You want to work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or you want to work only from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's entirely your decision. It means you are the one who is controlling. So again, the control part in employment contract or in employment agreement is with the employer. It's not with the employee. But in self-employment, the control part is in the hand of the person who is self-employed or who is actually doing his own venture. Second thing is the benefits. So what type of benefits the person is receiving will also tell us. So when you're employed, what exactly you're receiving is a remuneration package. It can be weekly, it can be monthly, and plus there will be some bonuses. If you are working in sales area, let's just say marketing, business development, you will be receiving some commissions also. Plus you will be receiving allowances like housing, travel, or telecommunication allowances. So these things are also indicating that this person is actually receiving a fixed amount of salary, okay, from every month. It means his income is not really variable. So he's drawing these things as a remuneration package, as a salary package from some ex company. Somebody is actually paying him to work for this fixed amount of money. But when you are self-employed, let's just say in the month of January, you entertained or you worked for 4 clients and they paid you £2,000. It doesn't mean that next month also you will be working for 4 clients. Maybe you will work for 6 clients. You incurred some extra efforts to work more, to earn more money. So it means the benefits you are receiving are also differentiating your area of work. So this is also important. So again, I would say when in terms of benefits in employment agreement, you are receiving remunerations, salary packages, allowances, and everything. But on the other hand, and it is fixed also. But on the other hand, in self-employment, you are receiving profits or whatever you are earning from your profession, and everything belongs to you. It doesn't belong to an entity. And you're not supposed to, or you're not going to get a fixed amount of, let's just say, £1,000 per month. Second thing is the basis of payment. Now, basis of payment means that how exactly you are being paid. Maybe you are being paid every month. So if in the question it says Mr. X as an IT professional is getting a fixed income of £2,000 at every month, at the end of every month, which is precisely 29th. Okay, it also indicates that this is a salary transaction which is coming every month end. But when you're self-employed and you finish a job in 1 week, it doesn't mean that you have to wait until 29 to get that money. By the end of the job, the money is yours. So basis of payment, and also precisely or practically speaking, even it can be mentioned in the exam that that the Mr. X's bank statement shows that there is a remuneration, or it is marked with the name salary. So it means that is a salary amount. That is not something which is driving from his profession, because as I said, the basis of payment in employment is always fixed and coming on some specific time. But in self-employment, it doesn't mean it will come on a specific time, and it doesn't mean it will be fixed, because in self-employment, he is the one who owns that venture, that profession. Second thing is the length of service. The length of service, when it comes to length of service, you see, when you get employment with any company, both parties, the employer and the employee, signs an agreement for an indefinite period. You can work there for 10 years until and unless either of the parties terminate that contract. But when you are self-employed, it means your agreement for the services is only for only or until and unless you finish the job. So let me just give you an example. Mr. X, an IT professional working for a company on a project A, he will keep on working even after he will finish the project A, he will be working on project B. But when you are a self-employed and Mr. X is developing a website for a client A, he will finish that work and then he will move on towards another project. It means for a client A, in both examples, the length of service in self-employment is up to when exactly the project will be finished, but in employment part, it will be on a continuous basis. So again, I would summarize this thing. In employment, the length of service is normally indefinite, but in self-employment, length of service is up to the end or execution of the project. Once the project will be finished, length of service will finish. Second thing is very important, which is normally given in the exam, and that is the equipment used. This is very important because normally ACCA exams, when they put a question on self-employment, they always try to mention somebody who is a skilled person. Let's just say skilled person like a plumber. So a plumber will be working and will be using some tools. If the same plumber is working for a company, the tools will be provided by the company so the Mr. X plumber can work on various jobs. But if Mr. X is an independent plumber working on his own as an independent plumber, he will be having tools of his own in his car or truck all the time, so he can go and visit the clients and finish the jobs. So it means in employment part, the tools will be purchased or sourced by the company. So tools belongs to the company. But in self-employment, the tools belongs to that individual, that skilled person, that plumber, or that IT professional. That computer will belong to that IT professional who will be doing individual jobs for individual customers. So tools are very important. Is it most likely, I still remember, in most of the questions where they test self-employment, this equipment used part is actually very, very, very commonly used. Second is the financial risks involved, the last part. Financial risks is something that who is going to own the liability, or who is going to own the risks, or who is going to own the profit or losses of that venture. If you are employed and your company is incurring every year or every quarter loss, it doesn't mean that loss will become part of your salary also. Your salary is fixed £2,000. As far as company would like you to work on the projects, they will keep on giving you £2,000, irrespective of the fact that company was having losses continuously for the entire year. But if you are self-employed and you are getting losses, that losses actually belongs to you. It may affect your income. It not even may, it will definitely affect your income, the cash inflow towards yourself, because that will be the source of income for you. So if you are having losses, it means that's a loss for you. Okay, one more example I'll tell you. If a company and you are employed, Mr. X is employed as an IT professional, and that IT company was having difficulty collecting its funds from the market, it doesn't mean that those bad debts will affect Mr. X's salary, because those financial risks are actually not concerning Mr. X because he's employed. But when Mr. X is working as an IT professional on his own, as a self-employed person, if he will make a loss, it means that loss is Mr. X's loss. He is not employed. The venture belongs to him. So if there is any profit, that profit also belongs to Mr. X. If there is any loss, that loss is also going to be in his in his profit and loss. So that's the thing. So the differentiation is very important. In the first paragraph, 2 or 3 lines, whenever the examiner or will put the scenario, he's going to mention somebody's name same way, and his skilled, and whether he's a skilled person, his skill set will be mentioned, and then couple of or 3 or 4 factors will be mentioned, that he's a plumber, but the tools were provided by that company. So it means that company and tools are also being provided by them. It means he doesn't have the control also. He doesn't own the tools also, means he is being dictated by the company to do particular jobs. So this will be the deciding factor. So it's very important. Then once we are sure that the person is either employed or self-employed, then we make sure that we apply those particular tax laws on that scenario to get the right answer. Now here's the thing. After this thing, the most important factor, now we will discuss the employment income. How employment income is being calculated. And this is very important factor, because this topic, in my opinion, will be tested not in just section 1 or 2, in section 3 as well. It's a comprehensive part of your syllabus. So you should have good command on this area. So let me just get us to that portion. So this is the portion which will describe us the employment income part. Now in employment income, there is a set format. Now this set format is extremely important. Why? Because nowadays this exam is not going to be a manual exam that you will be having a paper sheet and you're going to write it yourself. This exam is going to be a computer based. So if you are expecting, or if there will be a question in your exam which will ask you to actually calculate somebody's employment income, there will be an Excel sort of portion where you can write everything. And this format, if you know, you will be really able to draw this quickly and put all the amounts in relevant rows and calculate the employment income. So you should know this entire format. You should know this is very important. So to calculate somebody's employment income, it works in the same way like you are calculating some company's profit and loss account. It will not be having that much part of the P&L, but it has the same format. Same format how? Let me just tell you. These are the things which that individual, let's just say again Mr. X, okay, this is Mr. X's employment income you are taking, we are calculating here. So these are the things which describes inflows towards Mr. X, and these are the things which are describing the outflows. And if we deduct outflows from the inflows, we will be having the employment income. Now, which are the contributors towards the inflows? And we'll discuss one by one. Salary, of course, he's drawing a salary. Again, Mr. X is employed, so he must be getting some salary, some benefits, some other factors. Now, the salary, just to confuse the students, the examiner can even put he's drawing a weekly salary of £400 or a monthly salary of £1,600, and then you need to calculate, or they will straight away give you the yearly salary. The second is the bonus and commission. It's very simple to understand. If somebody is working, or he has a contract, or he has a job which ask him to achieve some targets, so when he will achieve the targets, he will be able to get some bonuses, which can be again yearly or quarterly or monthly, or commissions. So this is part of the variable remuneration. Benefits is actually one of the major portions which will be explained at a later stage. There are a number of benefits individually, and there are a number of tax rules also applicable on all those benefits. So we will be learning them at a later stage. But benefits, for example, I can tell you, if there is somebody is receiving an accommodation free of cost from the employer, if somebody is getting a car allowance, a vehicle allowance with fuel, or he got a car itself from the employer. There is a vehicle being given by the company to the employer, by the company to the employee, sorry. Then again, an example would be a mobile phone with the credit package. So let's just say £100 or £50 per month package was given to Mr. X for his use. And reimbursement expenses. Reimbursement expenses mean Mr. X is actually incurring some expenses, taking the receipts and giving it to his company, and they are giving the money back to Mr. X. Cash vouchers are the vouchers we are all familiar. £50 voucher worth of that XX store. You can buy to that store, present that voucher, and get whatever you want. Now, why we are adding up these benefits? Why we are adding all these things into a salary and bonuses and commissions? Why? A benefit is a benefit when it is provided for the personal private use of that person. So if I tell you the car was provided to Mr. X to do his routine job, that is not a benefit for him. That is merely for the purpose of his job, so he can visit clients. Let's just say a house was provided so he can work from home, or a company wanted Mr. X to relocate to that remote area and they provided him with a house also. That depended entirely that whether the person was awarded with that benefit for the purpose of job or for the personal use only. A mobile phone was provided so he can make calls to the clients. That for the purpose of the job. That is not for the personal use. But let's just say fuel allowance of 1,000 was provided so he can work also, plus he can execute his personal tasks also, like to travel with his family and stuff like that. So we will be taking portion of that personal use as a benefit. Other part will be job related. That is not a benefit. So in the same way, these are, again, I would say these are the inflows. These 5 factors are the inflows. We will be calculating one by one and put them here, and there will be a total of all the inflows. And then there is allowable deductions also. Now, what are the allowable deductions? The definition of allowable deduction is when an employee will spend out of his own pocket for the purpose of work. Classic example is I am an employed person, I have my own car, I will travel from London to Manchester for work. So I must have spent some money for fuel, for maybe toll gates, okay, and some other purposes. So all that money should be deductible also, if my employer is not giving me that money. First example, this is the classic rule. I would say you should note down this part of the sentence. Allowable deductions are expenses incurred wholly and exclusively for the job. If there is any ambiguity in the exam, or let's just say you forgot some of the rules, this rule will apply on all the scenarios. If it is a benefit or not, whether it was incurred for wholly and exclusively for the job. If it was not incurred to execute the job, it means that is not an allowable deduction. That was his personal work. So let's just say Mr. X claimed he called 50 clients or 50 times in the month of January for work purposes. And he can present an invoice also, or his January bill, which is saying exactly the same. That is for the work purpose. But if he's claiming that he called, yes, to many customers, but he is unable to present a bill, it means we are not sure that whether those calls which he's claiming were exclusively for the purpose of business or not. So the first set of rule, which is kind of a very I would say very applicable to all of the scenarios, is that the expense was incurred wholly, mean completely, and exclusively for the purpose of his job. Second is contribution to employer's occupational pension scheme. Pension schemes will be discussed at a later stage after some lectures, but again I can tell you, pension schemes are somehow or sometimes normally being organized or being being set up by the employers. Now why employers are actually putting their efforts to make or to organize all these things for the employees? This is actually for the encouragement of savings. So individuals, common people should be able to save enough money so he can spend the rest of his life after his retirement easily. So employer has contacted X pension scheme, that company who is actually working, or they have a pension scheme. Let's just say some insurance companies, they have some banks, they have some investment companies, they have pension funds, normally we call it. So there is a pension fund, X pension fund, and ABC company have an account with them. And ABC company has told them, we have 100 people. These 100 people will give us from their salaries 50 pounds per month. We will take that 50 pounds from their salaries and give it to you, so you can keep on compiling that pension scheme for them. So at the end of their retirement, at the retirement age, they will get that money directly from you. This is more of a organizational benefit also for the employees. So employer is actually doing everything on behalf of the employee. So occupational pension scheme means related to the occupation. What will happen at each month end, employer, before paying the salary, will deduct that 50 pound and give it to the pension scheme on behalf of the employee. So there are three parties involved: employee, employer, and the pension fund. So I, being an employer, will take 50 pound from my employee's salary and give it to the pension fund so they can maintain. So these contributions of 50 pound each month, which is being paid by the employee, is also deductible. Subscriptions to professional bodies. This is very easily understandable for everyone. ACCA, ACCA, or any lawyer or engineering body or anything related to any profession. If the person is actually paying that sort of subscriptions on a yearly or monthly basis, those subscriptions are also allowed. There is a law applicable also that those subscriptions or those bodies should be accredited or approved by HMRC. We will see that later. But such subscriptions are allowed to be deducted from the employee's employment income. Charitable donations. Now, donations also works like pension, not in terms of benefit, but in terms of payment. How exactly? Employee will tell the employer that I want to opt into this scheme, so you can take 20 pounds of my salary and give it to, let's just say, NHS, the health and health services body, the main body in UK. So they will take 20 pounds. Employer, again the same way, after the sworn statement from the employee, employer is going to take the 20 pounds out of his salary and give it to NHS in UK. That is a charitable donations. It is also deductible, and the main reason behind that it is allowed, that HMRC actually wants to encourage people to make donations so the society can flourish. So this is the idea behind that. Again, behind pensions, also behind charitable contributions also. So this is the idea of encouragement. Travel and subsistence expenses, again, if there was a travel expenses incurred by the employee to do his work, that is primarily for the purpose of work, that is allowable deduction and it should be deducted from the employment income. Why particularly travel? Because travel is something which is the basic necessity to execute the work if the person is required to move, to relocate. So this is allowable deduction. It will be given in the exam in the same way. So for the sake of clearing the ambiguity, let me just tell you, all of these things will not be provided in a tricky way. The only thing you will be needing is to identify all of them. Let's just say you will be needing to identify salary, you will be needing to identify commissions and other benefits involved. If there is any reimbursement, there is no reimbursement. Cash voucher, there was one only. So keep on noting down everything. That's why ACCA in the new scheme of exam, they have provided an Excel. So you can keep on typing on the right side before you put them everything into your main calculation. Okay. The last part is use of own car. This is actually the main reason behind that. I personally checked that thing because to include this one as an allowable deduction was lots of claims were coming from the employee that they were using their personal assets, especially the car, for the purpose of duty. So that's why. And sometimes what happened is the company is not paying, and the not paying part is coming from the idea that company was unable to track how much exactly is our portion from out of his total expenses of his personal car. It means if I am putting 1,000 would be too much, I would say 100 pounds worth of fuel in my car every month, it will be really hard to identify how much exactly out of that 100 pounds fuel I have spent for work purposes. So HMRC has given the rule that if it is identifiable today that how much exactly the person has traveled for the sake of work, there will be an allowance as per the mileage. I mean, he has traveled for 100 miles in a month, so 100 miles will be multiplied with some rate, and that mileage allowance is deductible because he was using his personal fuel and car for the sake of work, and that should be deducted from his income. Now, to give you in one line, a one-liner, why we have to deduct from his employment income, from his salary, bonuses, commissions, and everything. Okay, why we have to deduct this part from here? Again, I would say think of that person also as also like a legal person, like an entity. If he is earning this much, he is also spending something. When he is spending related to the work, that should be deducted also to arrive on the net figure what exactly he is left with, so we can charge the tax on that amount. If we charge only on the first portion, which is this portion, if we charge the tax only on this portion, it will not be just. Why? Because this portion, out of this portion, he has spent this money also. So that's why first, out of the inflows, these should be deducted, the outflows, and the net income is actually taxable. This is the main idea. Again, at the end, two main factors you should know when there is employment income question. You should be able to identify whether the individual or that person is employed or self-employed. How can we do that? We have number of factors like control, length of service, basis of payment, tools used, financial risk, etc. These will help you to identify the difference between the employed and self-employed. Second is that you should know the format of employment income calculation. So instantly, if you know the format, you will be looking, your mind will be telling you you should look for salary, bonuses, commissions, and other portion like cash vouchers, benefits, reimbursement expenses. Your mind will tell you, keep on looking for that, and you will keep on seeing and marking them and keep on putting them into your solution. This is how it should work. Because the main difficulty when you don't know, or you're not really, your mind is not familiar with the whole approach, you are confused and you will be spending more time thinking, how should I plot this thing? So imagine there is a cycle, and if you know where exactly to put letter 3 or letter C, you will be confused where exactly you should put. But if you know letter C should be placed at number 3, you will pick the letter C and place it at the point 3. So the end result will be really quick. So this was the whole idea. I hope we have learned something from this thing, and we will continue on the employment income at a later stage. Thank you.